Good evening. This is BBC Newsline. I'm Catherine Morrison with the headlines this Monday evening. The police begin a criminal investigation into allegations of abuse within the Presbyterian Church.
It's important that the Presbyterian churches acknowledge their failings, and I think it's vital that this is a collaborative, independent investigation that helps to support victims and restore confidence amongst church members and the wider public.
Tributes are paid to the 5 young people who died in a crash in County Louth at the weekend.
But how does a parent receive the news that their beautiful 23-year-old daughter has been killed in a car crash? How do you receive that? How do you cope with the enormity of that?
The care workers facing financial insecurity after being left out of the latest pay offer for health staff. The Secretary of State, Hilary Benn, says he's confident new Troubles legacy legislation will get passed at Westminster. Wild celebrations as Troy Pirates' late winner seals a World Cup playoff spot for the Republic.
Unbelievable. No words can express how people feel. Like it just needed that wee lift.
Northern Ireland play their final World Cup qualifier tonight in Belfast, knowing they have a playoff place secure next year. Join me live at Windsor Park ahead of the game against Luxembourg.
And it's going to turn colder this week with a hint of winteriness in the forecast. I'll have the details shortly.
Hello, you're very welcome to BBC Newsline on this Monday, the 17th of November. Last week, a resignation. This week, a police investigation. The crisis over safeguarding failures in the Presbyterian Church appears to be widening. Earlier today, the PSNI announced they're looking into the serious concerns, which led Reverend Trevor Gribben to step down. The police say they want to make sure any perpetrators of alleged abuse are held to account. But they'll also investigate whether any criminal offences have been committed by people who were responsible for safeguarding. It's emerged a small number of victims have come forward so far. Now, we'll hear some analysis from William Crawley in a moment, but first, Brendan Hughes has the story.
5 days since that press conference, questions have been piling up for the Presbyterian Church over failings in safeguarding. Now the PSNI wants answers with a criminal probe.
This investigation will seek to establish victims of offending and the perpetrators, and to investigate if criminal offences have been committed by those responsible for safeguarding. We, of course, recognise the courage it takes to come forward with such an investigation, and we want to reassure anyone affected that you will be heard and you will be supported.
And this is the man whose conviction sparked safeguarding concerns. Former schoolteacher William Maher from Belfast was jailed in May for charges of inciting 2 children under the age of 13 into sexual activity. It's understood he was a volunteer youth worker with the Presbyterian Church. But police say this new investigation goes much further.
There is potential for this to be a cross-border and cross-jurisdictional investigation. So yes, I have spoken to my counterpart in Garda Síochána today, and that's to ensure that this is coordinated and joined up, and we will continue those conversations in the days to come.
Conversations welcomed by the Victims of Crime Commissioner.
It's really positive that there's been a collaborative approach, and I know that the police have been engaging with health and community and voluntary sector partners to put victims' needs at the centre of this. That's really important, and I hope to see that continue. It is absolutely crucial that there are clear pathways of support for all of those who come forward.
In a statement, the Presbyterian Church in Ireland welcomed the investigation, saying they believe it will provide a thorough, trusted and transparent outcome. They said they will cooperate fully and will make available all relevant files, reports and information to assist police with their inquiries. The former head of safeguarding at the church says an external inquiry is needed.
If they're wanting to be open about the past and the present, any feelings, and make change in the future, they need to let go of that control that they so desperately have to have and be open to the experts externally who can advise them on what they need to do.
Police say this is day one of their investigations, so the many questions over safeguarding within the Presbyterian Church may take some time to answer. Brendan Hughes, BBC Newsline, at the PSNI's headquarters in Belfast.
Well, William is with me now to get into a bit more detail on this. William, you've been covering every detail of this story since it broke on Wednesday. How unusual is today's development?
I think it's not just rare, I think it's unprecedented that the police would set up a unit called the Presbyterian Church in Ireland Investigation Team. We've had abuse stories in the past with other churches, but actually setting up an entire investigation team focused on one particular church and its safeguarding role. And as you've just heard there, also looking into the possibility that there were criminal breaches of the law in terms of the governance of safeguarding. So I would say unprecedented.
And I mean, given that this crisis seems to be deepening almost every day, where does it go from here? Where does the church go from here?
Well, I think a number of things are going to be happening at the same time. Alongside the police investigation, I would expect the Safeguarding Board, which is an arm's length body of the Department of Health, to be looking at their role and maybe expanding their role here. Given what we heard from Jackie Montgomery Devlin today, that 50% of her time as head of safeguarding involved care homes run by the Presbyterian Church, one would think that the RQIA will be beginning to take an interest, a greater interest in some of what's been going on here. I think MLAs will also have an opportunity soon, through a motion being brought by Doug Beattie, to explore the use and abuse of non-disclosure agreements, which have been a part of this case as well. And then finally, I think this emergency General Assembly that's coming in December will give ministers and elders of the Presbyterian Church an opportunity, either in public or in private session, to grapple with a key issue, which is it time now for you to bring in independent, fully independent investigators into your own church?
The story isn't going anywhere. William, thank you for your thoughts. To County Louth now, where tributes have been paid to the 5 young people who died in a crash at the weekend. They were travelling in a car which collided with another vehicle on the RD road near Dundalk. The victims were Chloe McGee and Shay Duffy, both from County Monaghan. Alan McCluskey, who was 23, from County Meath. Dylan Cummins, also 23, from County Louth. And Chloe Hipson, 21, who was from Lanarkshire in Scotland. Julie McCulloch reports.
The news that 5 young people, all travelling in the same car, were killed in a 2-vehicle crash on Saturday night has been a lot for people in this area to take in.
It happened within 3 or 4 kilometres of Dundalk. We're heading out at 9 o'clock to the Mead area in the locality and moving back into Dundalk for a night out. End up in terrible, terrible tragedy.
2 of those killed, Shay Duffy and Chloe McGee, were from Carrickmacross. Monsignor Shane McCackey has been spending time with the McGee family.
To witness a family collapsing under the enormous weight of public grief, because they saw the beautiful picture of their daughter on the television screen being spoken of by journalists, by the media in past tense. And it just brought back to me the enormity of what these people are experiencing, and to think that that was happening in 5 homes.
2 of the young men, Alan McCluskey and Dylan Cummins, came from the village of Drumconrath.
These 2 young men that I knew, they're just very good chaps. They had their own business at 23 years of age, you know. You don't get young lads at 23 years of age doing that now, you know. When you don't get many of them, but it's just tragic.
Also in the car was Chloe Hipson from Scotland, who had been studying in Dundalk. The stretch of road where this crash happened on Saturday night has remained closed for much of today. Even though the 2 vehicles have been removed, the Volkswagen Golf and the Toyota Land Cruiser, Gardaí have been here carrying out further investigations into what happened. In total, 3 people are being treated in hospital for non-life-threatening injuries. including a man in his 20s who had been travelling in the Volkswagen Golf with the 5 young people who died. Julie McCulloch, BBC Newsline, Dundalk.
Thousands of healthcare workers are facing a worsening financial situation after they weren't included in the latest pay offer for health staff. That's according to the Chief Executive of the Independent Healthcare Providers, who has accused the Health Minister of doing a U-turn on previous commitments. Our health correspondent, Mary-Louise Connolly, reports.
They support some of the most vulnerable people in care homes, daycare centres and in their own home. And this year, the Health Minister and other senior officials assured social care staff that come September, they'd be paid the real living wage. That's 13.45 pence an hour.
I have committed to the real living wage, which I think is our best assessment of how to make it a more attractive profession and to actually get the workforce numbers up to where they need to be.
In Northern Ireland, a majority of care workers aren't directly employed by the health service. Instead, the government pays companies to provide the care, and that funding is used to pay staff. But it's emerged that the latest health pay offer doesn't include those social care staff who work in the independent sector, a move Mike Nesbitt says is disappointing. The organisation that represents these workers has written to the Minister describing his disappointment as a serious understatement, and that the ramifications of going back on this publicly made commitment to the social care workforce are wide-reaching.
This decision by the Minister is an absolute U-turn on a promise that he's made to the social care sector. He promised to pay the social care sector who work outside the health service the real living wage from September 2025. He's failed in that promise.
It's feared this decision will encourage staff to leave the profession, which will significantly affect services, particularly as we approach winter, when hospital and community care both come under increasing pressure. Mary-Louise Connolly, BBC Newsline.
To politics now, and the Secretary of State, Hilary Benn, says he's confident new legislation on dealing with Trouble's legacy cases will be passed at Westminster. It comes amid concerns MPs may try to change the law to give greater protections to veterans. The second reading of the bill takes place in the House of Commons tomorrow, and it was the main topic of discussion at a meeting of British and Irish ministers in Dublin today. Our political editor, Enda McClafferty, reports.
The British-Irish Intergovernmental Conference was set up under the Good Friday Agreement to provide a platform for both governments to work closely together, but nothing has tested that relationship more of late than legacy. As we know, both governments have agreed a framework to change the current legacy structures, and it faces its first legislative hurdle in the House of Commons tomorrow when it reaches second reading. Now, we also know that there's a growing sense that MPs may try and move to amend that legislation to provide greater protection for veterans. And what we got a feel for today was the Irish government, in a sense, putting a marker down as to what it will and will not accept. Have a listen to what the Secretary of State, Hilary Benn, had to say when we asked him, is he concerned about any changes that might come along for that legislation?
The agreement that we reached and published in September with the Irish government set out commitments from both governments. Why is that important? Because if we can get access to more information from the Irish government, the Irish authorities, that is going to help military families, other families who lost loved ones in the Trouble, to find out what exactly happened. That is to the benefit of everyone, and I'm confident that the legislation will pass.
But the Taoiseach Simon Harris was very clear that the legislation, once it passes through Westminster, must reflect what was agreed between Dublin and London. And we also asked him today about that legal action which the Irish government had started against London.
But staying true to the principles of the framework is the test. Not just the test for the British government to be watched by the Irish government, it's the test for the Irish government, I'm sure, by the British government as well. Both governments need to stay true to the principles of the framework agreement. But like I say, I make my comments in the context of that being my expectation.
And you're still carrying through with your own threat to take legal action against the British government. That hasn't been removed, that's still hanging there.
So again, I would respectfully see it in a different way. We will make a decision on what next to do in relation to that case once the legislation is enacted by the House of Commons. We don't want to be in a situation where we're taking our nearest neighbour to an international court, and I hope we can make progress on that very shortly.
Now, while all eyes will be on the House of Commons chamber tomorrow when this legislation gets debated, in truth, the real business will not come until the later stages in the legislative process, and that probably will be into next year. Enda McLafferty, BBC Newsline, Dublin.
Well, Republic of Ireland fans woke up this morning still delirious after that remarkable comeback victory against Hungary yesterday. This guy, Troy Parrott, was the hat-trick hero as he scored in the dying seconds to secure the result to take Ireland to the World Cup playoffs in March. And fans are continuing to enjoy the wild celebrations both here and in Budapest. Rory O'Reilly reports.
Into delirium both in Hungary and at home. For those who made the trip to Budapest, they were rewarded with a very special moment.
We just couldn't get over the atmosphere, and the ground was unbelievable. The buzz coming out of the ground, and there was a few late celebrations last night as well.
It was almost like a moment of disbelief. When I went in, everyone just started going berserk. Like people were just hugging each other and stuff. I thought it was class.
And there were also a few happy faces on the streets of Belfast today.
It's out for dawn in about the last 10 minutes. Excuse me, I'll go in and see what the score is here.
And you got very lucky because the final kick of the game went in. What was the atmosphere like in the bar when it?
The place just erupted, obviously, anyway, but it was good.
Unbelievable here. No words can express how people feel. Like it just needed that wee lift.
I thought it was fabulous, absolutely fabulous. A great goal, just a steal at the end, and it was absolutely brilliant.
All eyes now turn to Thursday's draw for the playoffs to find out who the Republic and their new talisman face to keep that World Cup dream alive. Rory O'Reilly, BBC Newsline.
Brilliant scenes. Now, our next story involves vets treating humans. Doesn't sound quite right, but we can explain. It's all part of a new project to help farmers here look after their health. They often put their animals first to their own detriment. The vets won't be actually treating them, but they'll be talking, listening and advising them, if necessary, to seek medical help. Our Southwest reporter, Elaine Mitchell, can tell us more.
Farming can be an isolated job, but where there's a farmer, there's usually a vet. And now that relationship is being utilised to try and improve outcomes for farmers' health.
Most farmers, they're happy to talk about the animals' health more. I think a lot of farmers don't really want to take up doctors' time. They feel it's maybe not important enough. But I suppose it's always better to get checked out. If you do feel that you're maybe not at yourself, I suppose it'll be a positive thing if farmers can talk to vets about health-related issues as well.
Vets will now get training in human health issues like cancer and how to spot the signs and offer advice.
Whenever you're there, that conversation is very easy for them to have with you, because they always think, well, you're a vet, you know some medical things, so let's ask you. And I always have to say, go back to the doctors, because no, I'm not a doctor, and yes, I look at calves and cows, but it's not always the same as humans,
The campaign is a collaboration between the Farming Community Network and Macmillan Cancer Support.
Our farming patients, still their number one priority was their farm. We would have patients delaying radiotherapy because they're lambing. They didn't have the hands at home to help the lambing, so they could have delayed their radiotherapy until they had their lambing done. And that's even through treatment.
And when it comes to things like cancer, time is of the essence.
With farmers, they do put things off until it gets to the point where things are maybe a little too late. So for example, with bowel cancer, if you're diagnosed at stage 1 with bowel cancer, your 5-year survival is at 90%. If we change that to stage 4, the latest stage of diagnosis, to survive for 5 years or more is reduced drastically to 10%, which is a shocking statistic and really shows the need for those early interventions.
Leaflets have also been produced with guidance targeted at farmers. Elaine Mitchell, BBC Newsline.
Now, what's the secret of a long life? We've been asking World War II veteran Norman Irwin on his 107th, yes, 107th birthday. He's believed to be Northern Ireland's oldest man. Mr. Irwin was joined by his family, friends and military representatives at his care home near Coleraine, and he was speaking to our North East reporter, Maria McCann.
It seems a lot of fuss over nothing.
What's your advice that you would give to younger people watching?
It's very difficult to get a handle on the world nowadays. Difficult to know where it's going.
It's changed a lot in the last 107
Unbelievably.
years.
And it's changing so rapidly. And it'll keep on changing rapidly. So you won't really know. Take it as it comes. And do your best and be kind to everybody on your way up. Because you might meet them on your way down.
What is your secret to such longevity?
Black bush.
Oh, many happy returns. Now, time for sport, and it's time to join Stephen Watson at Windsor Park, where Northern Ireland play their final World Cup group game tonight. Stephen.
Catherine, thank you very much. Yes, Northern Ireland take on Luxembourg here tonight, a match which is live on BBC Two. Knowing that the result doesn't matter when it comes to World Cup qualification, because Michael O'Neill's side has already secured a World Cup playoff spot due to their Nations League performances. Now, the draw for the playoffs is made this Thursday. That's when Northern Ireland will find out who they will be playing away from home on March the 26th. Still, this is an important match, Northern Ireland say tonight, because it's final preparation and a final game ahead of that huge fixture in 2026. And Michael O'Neill, the manager, knows there'll be stiffer opposition to come.
We felt that, you know, based on the games against Slovakia and on the games against Germany, you know, that we are capable of beating a pot 1 and certainly a pot 2 team, and that's what we will face in the playoff. You know, the most important thing is that we look at how we've progressed in this campaign, and I think we have in relation to how we've played the games, how competitive we've been in the games. You know, we came off very disappointed to take nothing out of either of the Germany games, and again we're beaten. You know, where we've been slightly disappointed with ourselves is actually the last 2 games, you know, conceded off corners, which has cost us. So those are things that we haven't done in the past. We've been good in that area. So those are things that we have to work on. And the personnel have to be ready to deal with that as well.
And Michael O'Neill's made 6 changes to his team tonight, including giving a full debut to Jamie McDonald. Now, as we saw a short time ago in the programme, Republic of Ireland fans are still celebrating their dramatic victory over Hungary yesterday to keep their World Cup hopes alive. A 3-2 win secured them a playoff spot, as Thomas Niblock reports.
Everyone's crying. I said against Portugal that this is what dreams are made of, but I think everyone should be proud of the group of players that are over there. To go down in the game twice and then to come back like that is, yeah, it's beautiful.
It was some game. Now, golfer Rory McIlroy capped off an amazing year by winning the Race to Dubai title yet again. He lost a playoff to England's Matt Fitzpatrick in the final tournament of the season in Dubai, but the runner-up spot more than enough to secure top spot in the overall standings. And his 7th title surpasses the total of the late great Seve Ballesteros.
I had a conversation with his wife Carmen before I went out to play today, and you know, she told me how proud he would have been, and yeah, it's, you know, you know, I said this on this screen last year to you, he means so much to this tour and to the European Ryder Cup team, and we rally so much around his spirit and his quotes and, you know, everything he meant for European golf, and to equal him last year was cool, but to surpass him this year, yeah, I didn't get this far in my dreams, so it's very cool. I caught up with Monty this week. He was here a couple of days ago, and I saw him, and yeah, look, it seems, you know, within touching distance now, and you know, I've hopefully got a few more good years left in me, and you know, hopefully I can catch him and surpass him.
Yes, Rory just 1 title short of Colin Montgomery's record. Finally tonight in rugby, confirmed today that a new 12-nation tournament will start next year between the Northern and the Southern Hemisphere. The opening round of the tournament's in July. Ireland's first game will be against Australia, who they, of course, beat 46 points to 19 at the weekend. That's it from Windsor Park. Join us live on BBC Two, BBC Three and the iPlayer for Northern Ireland against Luxembourg. Back to you, Catherine.
Stephen, thank you. Now, some beautiful autumn colours are still around, but for how long? Because it's going to get cold, and Barra's here to tell us just how cold.
It's going to be cold enough for the big coats, Catherine. Yeah, our first blast of winter is heading our way towards the middle of this week. At the minute, it's not too bad out there. 1 or 2 showers, but it is gradually going to turn more unsettled overnight with a scattering of showers coming in from the north and the west. A cold night, temperatures down to just 4, maybe 5 degrees. So a rather cloudy start to the day tomorrow with some outbreaks of rain. Later on, though, it's going to be a mixture of sunny spells and scattered showers. So first thing, quite a bit of cloud out there, some showers, and then as the morning gets going and through the afternoon, spells of sunshine too. But some of the showers could be on the sharp side. Further south, a few showers popping up here and there as well. Temperatures in and around average at around 7 or 8 degrees. But I dare say if you're caught out in a few of those showers and with those northwesterly winds, especially towards the north coast, it's going to feel colder than that. Northerly winds then develop tomorrow evening and overnight into Wednesday, and that means it's going to be much colder. Arctic air pushes south. Some of the showers overnight could be wintry, especially over the hills in the mountains, the Sperrins there, for example, in the Farring line. So for Wednesday, a day for the winter willies, we have that cold air digging in from the north. Any showers passing our way will be wintry. Over the hills in the mountains, the Sperrins, Donegal Hills, maybe the Mournes, could see a dusting of snow. Most places will avoid them. Any showers to lower levels will be falling mainly as a mix of rain and sleet. Temperatures may say 5 or 6 on the thermometers, but if you're out and about, it's going to feel colder, closer to freezing.
Very cold. I don't know if I'm ready for this, Barra. Thank you. Thanks for watching this evening. Our late news is at 10:30. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.